Hello, Matt.
What's up?
Oh, it's always a joy to see you. You know,
You too.
when I say it. Happy Wednesday.
Where are you coming live from?
I'm coming live from London. Good old London. What about you?
Laguna Beach, California.
Laguna Beach. Okay, I knew you were somewhere different because normally I see stairs behind you.
Right. That's home. That's home base in St. Louis. Yeah.
Oh, okay. What are you doing over there?
Working with a client. So having a chat with you and everyone else that's tuning in, and then flying back to St. Louis today. How about you?
Oh, we're so blessed to have you here then. Thanks for
Wow.
joining us when you're on a busy trip. What about me? Let's see. Well, I'm in London because I guess I'm living here for the most part now, so I'm not on a work trip, but been a busy week with soccer, working with the club that I'm with. We just started our season, so it's been busy, but
Let's
it's
go.
good. So I'm happy to be here too.
Well, that kind of fits into our topic today, and not
Yeah,
only personally but professionally, how to get focused on it. So let's go.
absolutely. So for those of you tuning in today, you may have seen in my LinkedIn post, we're going to be talking about why, for leaders, but for us personally, why it's important to help find or help your team find their why and how that's related to performance. This is a conversation that I can't talk enough about because it's really in Anchor, and it shows up in everything that I do, in the decisions that I make. So for me, on a daily basis, making sure I'm anchored in my why is crucial to my mental and physical health, and especially to my performance in my career. So that's what we're talking about today.
Let's go.
Yeah. What do you think about that when it comes to helping your team find their why?
Well, it's ironic because in this week, as I've been coaching teams, one of the meetings, the person was like, "Why are we having this certain meeting?" And it's like, well, if people don't understand why we're having the meeting, that's a big deal, right? And then the next day, it's like, why are we doing this initiative again? Within their workplace, and it's like, oh, got to go back to the why. And so you're exactly right. This anchors us both personally and professionally in all of our roles. And so I'm excited for people to tune in and revisit, not only from the professional side, where we always kind of have a Workplace Wednesday theme around here, but also personally, where are you tying into your why of your most important relationships?
Absolutely. And I'm going to get straight into it because I like to give things away sometimes. But when it comes to performance and our why, I think you gave a really good example of just asking the question, why are we in this meeting right now? If we don't understand the why, then the how and the what's the point sometimes is how it feels, And it's hard to get the most out of ourselves. It's hard to get the most out of our team, and to reach our full potential if we don't really understand why we do what we do. But if that why can be tied in, and if we understand that, especially going into it, like if we can get clear about our why, then no matter what the how is, or no matter what the what is, and if that changes, our why keeps us grounded, it keeps us consistent, and it keeps us moving forward.
Love it.
So we perceive things as just, it's totally different. So we're going to dive into that a bit today, I think.
And we help people with mindset. If I'm sitting in a meeting and I don't know why we're having the meeting and the purpose behind it, well, then what is my inner dialogue and self-talk? Why am I here? Why am I here? I'm not even focused on whatever's going on. And so the more clear, literally, the agenda can be.
Yeah.
Here's why we're here today, and here's the end in mind, and here's the objective. Perfect. Now I'm engaged. Might not be too clear on the how and what, but we'll get there because now I'm anchored into, at least I know why we're here.
Absolutely. And we are, if we think about it from the most applicable perspective, we are here today to discuss this very topic, to try and share our knowledge and our experiences, and then help you get to reflect on that and decide what you would like to do or what you would like to do with that information in your personal and your professional life. But I would also encourage anybody tuning in to just take a moment, even if it's a couple seconds, and ask yourself, okay, why did I decide to join today? Why did I decide to hop on Limitless Live? So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds. Let's just take it. Let's take the pause, power in the pause, and ask ourselves why. And if you want to chime in the chat, please feel free to. Matt, what about you? I know why we're discussing this topic, but why do you show up to Limitless Live? Why today?
Well, first of all, you allowing us to pause sets our intention, which, as we know, connects us right away. And I loved your opening question. Yeah, why did I? And hopefully some of those answers are, I love the consistency that Limitless Minds is bringing. I know every day they're showing up 11:30, 9:30 Pacific time, or wherever time it is in London right now, right? But
Yeah.
I just think it's critical as we all get better in these. Welcome, Anthony. And this isn't just a workplace thing.
Yeah.
Like, do the work individually to be like, what is my why? What is my purpose? And I shared with you, being a longtime school principal, what I realized was when a kid was in front of me, I was with the kid. When a staff member was a teacher in front of me, I was with the teacher. When a parent was in front of me, I was with a parent. And what I finally realized was my true why was no matter who was in front of me, my why was to communicate their worth and potential to them so clearly they could see it in themselves. Much like you're doing with each player on the team, right? How do they understand how they fit in to the greater part? And so those of you tuning in, there's work we can do individually to know what your why statement is. And then as a family, I think one of the things I sit here on today's topic most proud of is my family, 3 kids and a wife. Our why statement is to love family and love others. And so when we're volunteering or we're in the community and so forth, why are we doing this, Dad? Or why are we doing this? Because we love family and then we love others. And so this isn't, yes, we're talking about workplace today, but it's also the personal side as well.
Absolutely. I can I ask a question back to you, Matt? I'm curious. So your personal why that you had mentioned, is that a why that you view as a why for the work that you do, or is this a personal why that has no boundaries? How do you view your why?
Great question. And I think I had the workplace on first because, we spend more time, at work than we do with our families most of the time. But I think that's where I got clear on my why was when I moved from education to coaching corporate and education and in all dynamics.
Yeah.
That's where I realized that my gifts and talents and my why could serve, to your point, like ubiquitous. It could be anywhere. So how about you? Tell me your why and how you see that.
Yeah. So I think my why, if I try and put it into words, it's trying to make sure that when people are anybody is in my presence, that they feel safe, they feel they can be and explore their authentic selves. And whether it's through me holding up a mirror, metaphorically or literally providing tools, support, a hand or an arm over the shoulder, that they can start to, similar to what you're saying, realize their true and their full potential and take a step towards achieving that. That for me, when I get to see that or witness that, is fulfillment. Like it really fills my cup to the fullest. So
Love
I would
it.
say that for me is my why. And probably similar to you, I think how I used to think about my why in the past was very much related to my career and being the type of person that I wanted to portray to other people. And so my why probably looked a little bit different in the past for that reason. But then through my own journey of exploring who I am and trying to be my most authentic self, I've had and taken the time to like listen to myself and figure out and witness and experience what my actual why is in relation to anybody who's around me. And did that make sense before I go forward? Because
No, it does. And the theme that I'm processing as I listen to you and those of you connecting in, I know some of you might be listening and being like, well, I'm not a coach. I'm not a mental
right.
performance coach. I'm not a room tilter. I have this role in my company or organization. And I think when you start unpacking that, the theme around that is, how am I serving others? And it's really this being consciously competent of how am I truly serving others and what does that capacity look like? So much like you just described and much like I described, it comes from that spirit of how am I helping others? How am I serving others? And so even if your role tuning in is not in the space you and I are fortunate enough to be in, you're still in a position where you're being interdependent on a team, and your team exists for a reason, but then I also have an individual contribution to that as well.
Right. Okay, I want to take a little step back. I completely agree with what you're saying, and I'm trying to view it from the perspective of, okay, what if I'm somebody who's not only thinking, well, I'm not really a coach, but what if I'm actually somebody who's thinking, I don't really know my why. Like, I've never taken the time to do that before. How and where do I start? So do you have any advice, or do you have a starting point or a question or a tip for somebody who might not be entirely sure where to start?
Well, I think one of the things as you and I prepared for this was, I always like starting personal first.
Yeah.
I think as we thought about Workplace Wednesday, trying to help people connect to their current team and where they're at with that. And so I think we have I think we put together a little, I'm trying to say picture. It's not a picture. We have a visual.
Graphic. Yeah.
A
Visual.
graphic. Thank you for people tuning in to at least start the conversation. And
Yeah.
you asked me personally, I moved it to the professional side, but if we could maybe, I'm letting you take the lead on this, but maybe show that graphic for at least people to start.
Yeah, let's show that. Mari, can we get that graphic pulled up? Oh.
Or we could roll with that, right?
Okay, so let's read that top corner. It's a little bit blurry for me, but I think, oh, there, it's clearing up. So why? Very few organizations know why they do what they do. Why is not about making the money. That's a result. Why is a purpose, cause, or belief. It is the very reason your organization exists.
So what I love about this visual is this is a very non-threatening, easy way for those of you tuning in to be like, hey, can we put 5 minutes on the agenda and just like talk about this? And in a very short, it's very non-threatening, right? Can we revisit why our team exists and the impact? And I think just that process and that conversation starts to get us more clear on, because let's be honest, we probably look around and we can find a mission statement or a vision statement on the wall, on the wall, right? But is that living out? Are we living into that? And I think if we can get that why statement, just start that conversation. Now we're taking those next right steps to know why, whatever we're moving forward.
Yeah, sometimes it's about opening up the floor and actually having that conversation and revisiting with intentional conversation. I think sometimes we can get so busy with the objective and the agenda and all these things that we have to do, especially, I say coming out of COVID, like it was a while ago. I guess it wasn't that long ago, but we've had so many meetings booked in. We're so used to being busy. So I think to add another thing or to tag it onto a meeting can sometimes feel like a lot, but actually having those intentional conversations, creating a specific time and visiting the conversation of why is it that we do what we do. I think that's big picture. And then similar to your example in the beginning, even starting off a meeting with, hey, this is why we're having the meeting today. This is what we hope to get out of the meeting because this is important to us for these reasons. Tie it back to the big why, because then it switches something in our brain that we go, okay, I'm engaged now. Now I care because I get why we're doing this.
We just did that on Monday morning, one of the stand-ups that we have on Monday morning. If you're not revisiting that why in a while, so people tuning in, we have to have this reminder, because I could just read the body language a little bit like, another weekly team meeting and da-da-da-da. So I was like, hey, time out for a second. I just want to remind everybody why we do these on Monday mid-morning stand-up. brings us all together. We get to hear what's going on in people's lives, just not professionally, but personally. We're given a quick update on what people are doing, and we keep these time bound. And by the way, it brings us all together, and not only doing the work, but the culture and climate side of this helps us see each other and hear from each other. And so I just think that's a quick example where we can, those routines that we have, they're there for a reason. They're one of the most highly effective practices we can have on a team is the weekly huddle and the huddle, the so forth. So we have to be reminded of that, because the redundancy in the routine makes us sometimes think it's not important. It's actually very important.
Yeah. Okay. So the way I'm kind of condensing that is, if you're a leader, keep the main thing the main thing.
Let's go.
Use perspective on the day-to-day stuff that we need to get done, but keep the main thing the main thing. Keep that consistent in your message. Keep that consistent in your behavior and your interactions. So that way we have that why at the forefront of what we're doing, because we know that with that why at the core, it impacts how we do what we do. It impacts what we do. But the why is the driving factor there. So
and those of you tuning in, I always like to go the personal side. And as you were talking, I was thinking, for those of you that have kids and they're like, why do I have to do these chores? Well, you have to do those chores because everyone in the house has chores, and we're all interdependent, and everybody has to pull their weight. That's the why, right? And so this applies everywhere. It's just asking the question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm thinking about it, and actually we do have a video that we want to try and share. We'll see if it works.
That's one of my favorites.
But we're going to bring it up right now. Let's go for it.
Let's do
it. Give it a try.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, the what behind it? How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know I do comedy, but that's my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did 6 episodes. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm gonna show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor, can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like amazing. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bruckus, you know what I'm saying? All right. Now, once you give me the version, if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid, I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick. If you know what I'm talking about, just that is what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but right now I'm found. Was blind,
This is the best part.
The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
Boom. Mic drop. Boom.
Okay. So what was that last part of what he said? When your why is more impactful,
Your what?
is with purpose.
Yeah.
Something I probably missed a word in there.
I think I did too. Yeah, I was trying to.
There's no way I could do it service truly after that video. But I mean, that just hits it home. That just hits it home for me watching that video.
And what it reminds me of is too many times throughout our day, we're focused on efficiency. Do it, check the box, check the box, check the box, check the box. And we don't call time out and be like, is there a more effective way? And when we revisit the why, we get out of that kind of efficiency wheel that we're just like doing it to do it, like the what, versus the let's call time out and revisit the why, and we'll actually be more effective because now we're connected, as he said, to our purpose, and we're stepping into that. And so I think, again, as people tuning in, we showed the visual that said our team exists blank to impact blank. Personally, you just changed the team to I exist. What to blank? What's your contribution? So that blank and impact. And now you're pointing the fingers back at you. And to answer that question starts this path of why we chose this topic today, because it is the anchor, to use your analogy, of how we go about our day. And are we intentional coming from that why?
So, and Mari, would you mind putting, if you can, I'm not sure if you're able to, but if you can, would you mind pulling that up just for maybe 30 seconds or so that anybody who didn't catch it can see it one more time? The way that I think about it, and I think we've touched on both ways here, Matt, is for leaders, we're trying to help instill the why of the organization in everything that we do so that we can make that clear, make it consistent, and make sure our behaviors are reflected in it. But at the same time, I think for leaders, there's also this role, and I think this opportunity to help not help, but for you to understand your team's whys, their personal whys, because sometimes they might perceive the company's whys as being something different. What I see as for example, what I see as family might seem very different and look very different to Matt, what you see as family.
Right.
And what I see as community might look very different to what you see as community based on our experiences. And so for leaders, it's important to understand that, and it's important to try and help your team find their why, but then also to tap into their why. Even if you don't know what it is, I think we can try and tap into it. And that comes from, before I go forward, is there anything you want to add there?
The thing that you just reminded me of, and leaders tuning in, I think one of the things I as a leader tried to be very intentional about, and still be, is that when we come together, I pride myself on being collaborative, but collaborative can mean one of two things. And so I think it's very clear to start off the next meeting you're in, defining the why, but to this issue of collaboration, I would always define that as, hey, I'm collaborative, and that looks one of two ways. We're coming together. I'm going to listen, but then I'm making the decision based on the feedback. Everybody still had voice and choice in that, right? But I'm making they had voice, but I'm making the choice. Or we're making the decision together. Both of those are collaborative, but defining that ahead of time helps that in the first case scenario, if I make the decision, I'm reminding them, but you still had feedback. So even if we go a different direction and it wasn't your feedback, you still had voice in that. And so I think that's a small example of defining a why and being clear on why we're coming together, so that when the result happens or the decision happens, I'm still reminded that I had feedback. And so again, those of you tuning in, we're encouraging you to revisit the simple activity of our team exists too and has the impact. And I think the more clear we can be on the why, the more engaging we are when decisions are made.
Okay, the more clear we can be when decisions are made. Absolutely. I think from a personal and professional perspective, when I think about making a decision, when we get so caught up in the what, sometimes the decision can benefit us if it does in the short term. But when it comes to organizations and when it comes to leaders and when it comes to us as individuals, not very often, unless it's for a tactical reason, are we playing the short game. I think we're constantly playing the long game, which means fulfillment, it means progression, it means compound interest of the small daily habits. And so revisiting your why when it comes to decisions, revisiting the organization's why when it comes to decisions, I think is a crucial way to make sure that you're staying aligned and also that you're revisiting your why. You're walking in your values, you're walking in your why from a collective and from an individual perspective.
Absolutely. And I think, as we wrap this up, we pride ourselves in helping people take their next right step. And my encouragement as people leave this call would be to challenge them to pick one of two areas. I'm a big believer in start with one, right? And that is revisit the visual that we had that says I exist to blank, so that blank. Or the next time you're with your team, be like, hey, I got a little icebreaker we can do, right? Let's see what everyone would answer to that. That would be fun. To literally take, and Mari, real quick, I know we're at the top of the hour. If we could show that visual again, what a great next activity if we haven't done so in our team in a while, to be like, hey, here's the icebreaker, here's the opening activity. Everybody individually answer these, fill in the blank to these two, and then see what shares and see where the commonalities are. There's the first step, in my opinion, to take from today's kind of Workplace Wednesday. And then I'll let you literally at the top of the hour finish us off.
Okay, I will add one more thing to what you're saying, because I think you gave a great icebreaker from a team perspective. If you're an individual who's struggling to fill in the I exist because, I would ask you these two questions. I'd ask you to think about these. One, what moments or which moments have you felt incredibly fulfilled? Like, when was the last time you felt that? And what was associated to that? Was it relationships? Was it something you did for someone else? Think back to that. And the other question is kind of looking at the flip side, which is, what kind of things get under your skin? And I'm not talking about pet peeves. I'm talking about what really gets you going, what gets you fired up. And for me, things like bullying, as an example, I think everybody could say, oh, I don't like that. For me, I get really fired up about that. And it's because of the mistreatment with people and because people don't feel safe, which gives me an insight into why that's so important to me and the fact that it is. So those are two questions you can take from an individual perspective. So Matt, I think we've been hitting a lot of different areas all under the same roof. So hopefully everybody tuning in has had some really good takeaways when it comes to the importance of driving home the why for your team, for individuals, and how that relates to performance. So huge thank you.
You too.
To the Matt for
Let's go make it happen.
And who do we have tomorrow before we hop off? Who do we have tomorrow?
No idea.
We have, I think I know. Give me
Carla
give
and
me a moment.
Tanya.
Tanya.
All right. Good to see everyone.
All right.
Let's
Good
go.
to see you. Have an amazing Wednesday. Take care. Bye, Matt.